Okay, we're going to do a warranty problem. We are reviewing for the final here in HA, and the final has a big section on probability. About 1/3 of the final is probability. And that means probably about 20 to 25 questions on probability. Okay, so you really got to know this stuff. So the first one I'm doing here is a warranty question, and we said that there was a 5% chance it's going to break, 0.05. That means a 95% chance it will work. P times the A, the amount you get if it happens. If this happens versus if this happens. How much do I get if it works? Nothing. Put a 0 there. How much do I get if it breaks? I get the whole value of the thing. And we always do our problems that way. You could buy warranties that just like pay you $100 if it breaks, but it's usually the whole value of the thing. And we really probably should be doing the value of a repair, because that's all they do, is they usually just repair it for you. But actually at Apple, they oftentimes just hand you a brand new one, and they'll take your broken one and they'll fix it up and sell it to somebody else later. But they give you a brand new one, so it's kind of fair to say it's the value of the new one. In this case, let's go with $500. Let's say that the thing was worth $500. A lot of the TVs are worth that nowadays, iPads are worth that nowadays, so it's kind of a mid-price item. Then, if I'm doing P times A, P times A. Why, after you do P times A, then what do you do? Always add them. So 0 times 95, I can do that in my head. 500 times 0.05, I can even do that in my head. You know how? I do 10% of it first. That's always easy. You just move the decimal over. So it's 10% is 50. And then you go, it's not 10%, it's 5%. So if 10% would be 50, what would 5% be? 25. There we go. Then I actually add them up. 0 plus 25 is 25. The only thing is, so far, I never told you how much the warranty cost, did I? That's how much the warranty would be worth, is 25 bucks. What do they usually sell them for? A lot more than that. Let's say that they sell it for $60. So then how do you figure that in? You just put in the 60 at the end and say minus 60. It was worth 25. Now I take away the 60 that I actually had to pay for it. Now I'm losing money. Is that normal? Yeah, that's when you buy stuff. Usually they make a profit and you lose money. So 25 minus the 60. Let's see. 25 minus 25. 30. 35? Okay. So what is that? I expect to lose $35 on average by buying that warranty. Would there be some people that actually make money by buying the warranty? Yeah, if you're the person whose iPad breaks, then it was really smart to spend the $60. Okay, but if you're one of the people, like most, who will buy the coverage and then never use it, then it wasn't smart for you. But you're averaging it out. That's what insurance is. You buy it and then you hope you don't have to use it, but if you do, you're like really glad you had the insurance. Like for most of you, have any of you had your house burned down? Okay. Did you know you had insurance for that probably this whole time? You're paying for this insurance every year. Your parents probably paid like $600 or more. Maybe some of your houses are bigger, maybe like $2,000 every year. They're paying this money, and is that a ripoff? No, because if your house ever does burn down, you'll be so glad you had it, because it's really painful and expensive to rebuild your whole house. It might, depending on your house, sometimes it can cost, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And for some of you, you just wouldn't be able to do it. You know, don't have that money. So if you don't have the insurance, it's not you're getting ripped off. So a point is, this is insurance, and not everybody's getting ripped off on this deal. Yes, the expected value is, on average, you're going to lose some money, but you're buying insurance, so you don't have to worry about your iPad breaking. Okay, did you know that if you're wealthy enough, you can actually, instead of buying car insurance, you can actually put a bunch of money in the bank? It's called a bond. And if you have this proof, you don't have to have insurance. Everybody else has to have insurance, but if you're rich enough, you can say, I've got a bond posted. And that means that you've got this money set aside in case there's an accident. That's like your insurance company. It's your own money set aside in the bank. So some people don't have to even buy insurance. They're rich enough that they don't have to buy it. They just have their own money stuck in the bank somewhere just in case. But it's very dangerous for them to do that, because if they do that and then they do hurt somebody really bad in an accident, they don't have any insurance, they have to pay it all themselves. And what if they put somebody into a wheelchair for the rest of their life? That might be a $2 million claim. Might be really expensive. So most, even wealthy people, still buy the insurance. But it's in the law that they don't have to. Okay, anyway, enough of that. That was only a couple extra minutes. I guess the next kind of problem that we need to know for probability is P's and what's the other kind? C's. Do you remember which one the order matters in? Order patterns. Very good. It was stuck in your head for a few of you. So P, order matters on the P kind. So if I said we're going to have a race, and out of all of you in the classroom, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25 of you, and one of me. We're all going to have a big race in the parking lot. 26 of us. First person to get it all the way across the parking lot wins. Okay, let's say that we keep track of first, second, and third place. Then we just had 26 P3. Who do you guys think would win? In my younger days, I think I would have beaten many of you, but that was pretty fast. I was fastest kid in my 8th grade class. But Achilles tendon's bad, so I'm taking myself out of the list. I am not going to be one of the first 3. All right. Nobody's willing to nominate anybody? Chris Country? I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, you'd probably be up there. All right, anyway. So, how many? This is not a probability, I want to warn you. This is a how many ways can it happen? And it's a really big number. Okay, so everybody, do you remember how to put that in your calculator? That seems important to know. Grab your graphing calculator. If you want to borrow one of mine, make a trade and leave me something up here, and then borrow one of mine. That's okay. Just make it fast, please. I'm going to pause for a minute while we get those straight. All right, so what I want you to try is put in 26P3, and then if you figure out where that is, it's under Math and PRB. Figure out that answer, and then figure out for me what 26C3 is. It's also under PRB, under Math. All right, I'll pause for a second while you work on that. Sadly. Okay, the 26P3. Who has that one? Is confident. What'd you get, Mr. P? Raise your hand if you got the same thing. Okay, good. And now the 26C3. Somebody, please. What do you got? Can anybody verify that one? It was 2600. Okay, good. Why is it smaller? Because the order doesn't matter. And if I had a collection of, let's say, 3 things, which is what we have, and it doesn't matter whether it's stapler, black pen, red pen, versus black pen goes first, stapler, red pen. If those orders matter, you're going to have a lot more of them. That's why there's 15,000 or 15,000 of these versus only 2,000 of those, because the order has to be rearranged. In fact, specifically, the difference is, I believe, it's 6 times as big. Why? Because there's 6 different ways you can arrange this set of 3 things. So that's why it's 6 times as big for the permutations, because the order matters. And that's the main point there. All right, let's move on to a different kind. Another one that you get a lot is the card questions or the pizza questions, and they look like this: CC over C. I know many of you already started a Schoology quiz, and that's totally smart. It was a good use of your time, but could you set it aside for right now and stay with me? And I want to see you working on the Schoology quizzes right now. Okay, come back to it in a minute. All right, so this CC over C is how you do anytime there's a big collection like cards where it's divided into smaller subgroups. For instance, cards are divided into clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. Or you could say a group of you guys are divided into people with dark hair, blonde hair, and maybe red hair, which is kind of in between. I don't know if that's considered dark or blonde. But okay, so there might be a big group divided into subgroups. All right, so let's do the hair one. Who in here, I know it's always kind of a gray area, but who thinks that their hair would be considered brown? Raise your hand if you have what would be considered brown hair. Probably the most common. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 15 brown. How many of you would have what most people would consider red hair? Raise your hand for the ginger group. All right. All right, I got two reds. And how about black? Who has what they think people would consider black hair? Only one. I would have called another couple of you guys having black hair, but I'll just go with the one. All right. And who would be considered having blonde hair? Who considers himself to be blonde? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So this is always an interesting one, just because some people just don't want to pick because they're not sure exactly whether the people will say, well, you don't have blonde hair. Yours is more brown or whatever. Okay. So if I was going to pick from the class and say there is a total of 25 of you, and I'm going to choose out a group of 5 people, then it's 25C5 on the bottom. Now, if I wanted to say, what's the probability that I'll get 3 people with brown hair and 2 people with red hair? You got to do your subgroups on top. The browns were 15 to choose from, and I said I wanted 3. And then the red-haired people, there were 2 to choose from, and I said I wanted 2. And there you go. That's a probability now. Because there's a bunch of ways that could happen on the top, and there's a really big bunch of ways that could happen on the bottom. And then when you divide the two numbers, you got a probability, because what I want is on top over what's possible is on the bottom. Okay. I'm going to do one more like that, except it's going to be a card question, and I want you to set it up, and I want you to turn and billboard it to me, make sure you're on the right track. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a CC over C question. Would you please figure out for me if I am going to be dealt only 2 cards out of the 52 card deck? 52 cards out there, and I'm going to be dealt 2 of them. This is a game called, what do you think? Blackjack is one of them. Yep. And there's another one, Texas Hold'em. Yep. All right. What's the probability that I get my favorite hand, which is ace king? I'm going to get 1 ace and 1 king. So, one thing at a time, you start with the bottom. Everybody write this one, because I'm going to ask you to turn it to me in a second, but I want to at least give you this part. Do you get that there's 52 cards in the deck? This is always going to be 52 for card question. And then, how many am I taking out of the deck? So you should have had a 52C2 on the bottom. On the top, you got to have subgroups. And the 2 things I wanted you to consider were aces and kings. So you got to ask yourself, what do I put for this aces thing and what do I put for this king thing? Turn it my way and show me what you think. Yup, 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 yup. By the speed at which you all turned your things around, I knew you were probably doing it right. Yes, I haven't seen a single wrong one yet. Okay, so it's 4C1, because there's 4 aces, I want one of them. 4 aces, I want one of them. What would I have done if I had just said, I want to get 1 ace, and that's all I care. I don't care what the other card is. What's the probability of that? Am I doing it right by doing what I just put up on the board? No. I can't do just 1 card on the top because there's 2 cards being drawn. I have to have some other C thing because this 1 isn't adding up. It's supposed to be 2 total cards being picked. So then you go, well, I'm going to choose 1 other card, but what do you pick? You have to decide what it's going to be? No. You do that. So say what you have on your paper there. 48C1. Good. And on this kind, you'll notice that this plus this will add up to this. And that plus that will add up to that. Make sense? Final answer is what I've got on the board, except you'd actually have to type it into the calculator and get the decimals for it and stuff. It'll end up being a probability. And it will be a, well, not too scary small, because getting dealt an ace isn't that rare. Because all I have to have is an ace. The other card can be anything. So there's a lot of combos that would work. So I'm saying that the probability won't be super rare. Yes?
So in the first one that you did, where it was
Blonde-haired and brown-haired people, this one?
that made it forcing up.
Okay, yep.
So when you said the third one, that was
Good question. On the one that I said 4C1 and 4C1, that was one king and one ace. Why didn't I have to have another one for that? Because the total here was two things being picked out of 52. So if these two numbers add up to this number, you don't have to have that third C. If I was going to do a third C, I would go like this, though. There's a total of 8 things have already been taken out, so that leaves 44 left. C0. And since it's a C0, anytime you do anything, choose 0 of them, means it's going to default to a 1. So basically, when you type this in the calculator, it's like timesing by 1. So it really isn't necessary. It does make it balanced, though. It's kind of nice from that perspective. This plus this plus this will add it to this then. And that plus that plus that. But see, when I'm adding 0, I really am not doing anything there. Okay. Well, I've covered a bunch. I haven't covered it all. But I have one more topic I want to go over, and then I'm going to give you a bunch of work time. Last topic is, I wanted you to get the difference between when you'd use those blanks. You know how sometimes problems have blanks in them that you multiply together? You always multiply your choices. When would you ever need that? Especially when you're not counting down. Like, if there's 3 kids that are going to go up to bat, and let's say you're the Little League coach, and you got to pick them in order, does the batting order matter? Yes. You have to actually write down the batting order, and you can't change it unless you follow certain rules. So the order matters, right? So that means it's a P question. And that means you have 3 choices for this first spot, right? You can pick any of your kids for first. But once you've picked that kid for first, then how many choices do you have for the next spot? 2, and then 1 left for the third spot, right? How could you do the problem? This could be done with a P. See, this was 3P, and I have 3 spots. That would have been just fine. But what you can't do with P's and C's is if things can repeat, like a license plate. Let's say we have a license plate that has 2 letters and a number. AA6 would be an example of a very short license plate. There's 26 choices for the alphabet, 26 choices for this alphabet, and then for the numbers, there's 10 choices for the number. You get how they can repeat like this? You need blanks for that because you can't use P's or C's because they always go like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They aren't going to allow you to let things repeat. So if you want to do a P problem, you can do it with blanks if you want, or you can use the P if you want. But if you want to do something where things repeat, blanks are your only way to go. All right. On that topic, what letter do license plates almost never start with? I said almost never. It's not Z, it's not A, it's not C, it's not I. You guys don't know about the W. W. You usually don't start with W. It's very rare because anybody that has a W as the first letter of their license plate, it's a whiskey plate. Yes. That means is that the person was caught drunk driving, usually more than once. And so now they're alerting the cops to the fact the cops know that anytime they see a W at the beginning of the plate, that's somebody they should watch extra close, especially at night, because that's usually when most DWIs happen. And so they get watched really close because their license plate has a W first. And I know I risk the fact that some of you are going to go home to mom and dad's license and you'll be like, oh, holy crap, there's a W at the beginning of the license. Yeah, it could happen. And that means that mom or dad had a DWI probably. Because you don't get a whiskey plate. They're specific. They're specifically because it's a punishment. They say, okay, and you got to get a new license. And it starts with a W. Yes. Yes. All right. Then you put them together. So even though the question is, let's say on that 52 cards and you're going to choose to get 2 of them, what if you wanted 2 aces? If you divide them into 2 things, it's going to mess you up. You got to keep them together because they're both aces. So if they're both aces, I have 4 aces in the deck and I choose 2. It's like that. And I don't do it with this other one. If I want to do anything there, I could say 48, choose 0, but don't divide it up into this ace and that ace. Put them together and say 4 aces, choose 2. All right, I think that's enough probability for today. You can always ask me questions tomorrow. What's going to happen is there's 4 quizzes that are loaded up for you on Schoology. 2 of them, the first 2, are required. You don't even have to go back and do them again if you don't want to, but I encourage you to do them as many times as you want to make you feel comfortable. There's a limit of twice, but if you even want to exceed that, ask me and I can delete it. Just do lots of practice, so I'm trying to say. I'm not going to put this into your grade book in a way that's going to hurt you. Okay, so as in I'm probably going to put it in if it's 18 points on there. I'll probably, first of all, only make it worth 9 points, and then I'll scale it down based on the fact it's hard. So anyway, just do your best on these. It's a great way to practice. It tells you whether you're right or not. And that's your assignment for today, is do those first 2 probability quizzes.